Hello there. Now, as many of you probably know, I work really collaboratively with a lot of other professionals and organisations in order to try and help families as best we can to get the right kind of support and information. And one of the organisations that I collaborate with most frequently is Families in Focus. So I asked Terri from Families in Focus to join me for a conversation to talk about the issues that the parents contact us about, the issues that parents are seeking support with, and just to explore some of the common themes on the area of special educational needs and disability. Here's what we spoke about. Well, thanks for joining me to talk a little bit about SEND support and issues around SEND. So you come from an organisation called Families in Focus. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course I can. So we are a registered charity and we provide support, advice and information and guidance to families and young people with special educational needs and disabilities up to the age of 25.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, Terri, you and I collaborate quite a lot together, and we know, don't we, that there are some really common themes around special educational needs and disabilities that families experience. And the first one is when a family have seen a paediatrician and the paediatrician confirms that your child has, a particular condition. And then obviously as a family, you're thinking, well, what do I do now? Where do I go with that? So what would your advice be to families in that situation, Terri?
Okay, so at that stage, it would be a good idea to ask your child's school for a meeting with the class teacher and the SENCO. And that would be to talk about your child's diagnoses and to also explore what support is available and might be needed. Families know that every school has a SENCO, which is a special educational needs coordinator. And one of the roles of the SENCO, that she is responsible for ensuring that children with SEND receive the support that they need in school.
Yeah, that's perfect. So a conversation with the school to let them know about the diagnosis or the outcomes of an appointment is really the best first step, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
The next question that parents often have, Terri, once their child has seen the paediatrician and they know that their child's got some kind of additional needs is, how do I access the right help and support? So what kind of advice do you give to parents when they ask that question?
Okay, so a good starting point would be to start gathering information about what is available to you as a parent and how you can access help and support for your child. You can access good information, advice and support from various organisations such as Families in Focus, Essex, which is the organisation that I work for the Maze website, the Colchester Parent Support Directory, which can be found on the Maze website and downloaded. Also the local offer, the charity SNAP and SEND IS.
Those are really great sources of information and support. And I know I'm biased because you did mention Maze there. But yeah, so for those people that don't know, you can always get in touch with Maze, and that's what we're here for. And that's either before you've even seen the paediatrician, if you think your child has got some kind of additional need, you can get in touch for support. And you and I, Terri, know lots of organisations, don't we? So we're good sources of the first port of call, really, to go to for finding that information. But yes, there's loads of information out there, and that's really the best next step. So Terri, the next big issue is what's called SEND support. So that's support for children within school. Do you want to just outline what typically you're thinking of when we talk about SEND support?
Yeah, of course I can. So SEND support is a graduated approach to identifying a child's needs and providing support to meet those needs. This is done following the cycle of assess, plan, do and review, which is known as one planning. I would say there's three key steps. You have a one-page profile, which is a summary of what is important to someone with SEND and how they want to be supported. It's a way for the child or young person to have a voice in how they would like to be supported. And it is exactly that. It's a one-page profile, normally on one sheet of paper. It can be personalised, especially for younger children, with their interests such as Minecraft or their favourite football team. Normally, the one-page profile would be looking at three areas, and that would be around what makes me happy, how would I like to be supported, and what do people like and admire about me. That would, the one-page profile that can then be used alongside the one planning document, which is what I explained to you earlier, which is following the assess, plan, do and review cycle. Now, good practice would be that 3 cycles of one planning happen per year. However, it doesn't have to be 3, there can be more than that, and good practice would be at least termly. And then if you reach the point where, despite putting in the cycles of one planning, the assess, do, plan and review, and you're reviewing that and your child or young person is still not making the expected progress, or whether the school are using resources above what's available to them to be able to meet the needs of your child or young person, that's when you start looking at whether an application for an education, health and care needs assessment would be needed. That's the first step of being able to obtain an education, health and care plan.
So it's a lot of information in there, and I really know it could be really overwhelming if you're a parent just starting your journey to understand this whole, what's a one plan and when would you have one, what's a one-page profile, when would you have one, what are the circumstances that would make you consider asking for an education, healthcare needs assessment. So there's lots of information there, and we won't go into detail about that today, Terri, but we will talk about that. We'll do separate videos about each one of those to explain that process in the future, so we'll do those soon. The next issue that comes up a lot that you and I both speak to parents about is where they have concerns that their child is not learning, not making progress, or maybe not thriving at school. So if that's the case, what is your advice to parents about what to do about that?
Okay, so communicating with your child's school is essential, and it's really important to try to keep that positive. I would recommend that you do your own research about your child's needs and what support would help them. For example, sensory breaks, or having access to a safe space, when dysregulated. I would also advise that you could ask for a meeting with the school, go prepared with an idea of what you think appropriate support for your child would look like. The other thing as well that I would mention is that prior to the meeting, maybe you would like to check some of the professional reports that you received regarding your child or young person, and to have a look at whether the recommendations in those reports have actually been implemented.
That's really good advice, Terri. So it's always really important to keep a good communication with the school, keep accurate records yourself, and go along and with an ask for what it is you want to get from that meeting. Okay, Terri, so the final point here is, what should parents do if they've tried all of that and none of it seems to help, that maybe their school is not really taking on board what they're asking for, or that stuff has been put in place and it's still not really helping? What would you suggest parents do then?
So you can access support from Families in Focus, Essex, which is the organisation that I work for, MAIS, which is your organisation, Colchester Parent Support, SEND and the SEND Navigators. You could also ask your school that if they feel that it would be useful to seek further support and advice from their inclusion partner. The other thing I would say as well is it would be really useful at this stage to be able to keep a diary of what's going on. So I always recommend to families, whether you would like to just purchase an academic diary, and just make sure that you keep a log of key information, because often when you're going through this process and things are not panning out as you wish them to, and your child's not making the expected progress, sometimes, one day runs into another day and you forget, some of that key information. So I would also recommend keeping a diary with just the key relevant information that you can refer back to at a time if it's needed.
That's great advice, Terri, because the whole of this process is very evidence-based, isn't it? So keeping your own chronology of what's happened and your own set of evidence there is really, really useful. Okay, Terri, that's been really useful. Thank you so much for giving us your time and the benefit of your advice. If anybody watching this would like to get in touch with Families in Focus for a bit more support and information and help, how could they do that?
So they can go to the Families in Focus Essex website and complete the short referral form, or they can phone our helpline.
That's great. I'll put all of the details about Families in Focus and all of the other organisations we've talked about today in the link below this video. Thanks again, Terri.
Thanks, Sue.